Hi guys, it's Penguin Design here to bring you the second part on our How to Make Crossy Road tutorial series. In this part, we're going to be attempting to model the chicken found in the Crossy Road game in Maya. So if you already haven't got Maya, I'll leave a link in the description on how to get it for free for about 2 years. So what we're going to do is open up Maya and open it. Now it should take a bit of time to open, but once it's done, you'll get these two dialog boxes. And you can just close them. You can close it as well as the output window because we don't need that. Now, make sure you've got polygon selected from this menu, and under the polygons tab, click on the polygon cube and drag it anywhere you want on the grid. Now, as you can see, it's giving us a wireframe view, which is not what we want. So press 5 on your keyboard and it'll bring up a shaded display. Now, under your channel box / layer editor on the right hand side of Maya, click on the inputs section and change these to be 1 on each axis. Now change its transform positions to be 0 on each axis. So now I've created our simple cube. So what we're going to be doing is making this model up of a whole lot of those cubes and then join them together in different components. For example, this leg would have 2 cubes here and then a 3x3 cube here and then 3 cubes upwards. So let's get started. So this cube I'm going to duplicate with Control D. I'm going to move it to the right and make it translate on the Z -1 because we want nice even values so that the join between the two can't be noticed. In order to rotate around your model, as I'm doing currently, use Alt and then the left click on your keyboard. Then to pan, use Alt and the middle mouse, and to zoom in, Alt and the right mouse. After a while, you get comfortable with these controls and end up using them constantly. So now I'm going to duplicate this cube again, move it so that it's -2 on the z-axis, duplicate it once more, make it -1 on the x. Now select these 3 cubes, duplicate them and move them over, make it so that their translate on the x position is -2. So this will hopefully resemble this little foot section here. So now what we're going to do is select these 3 cubes, duplicate them and move them back on the z-axis until and then set it to -3. Again, select the 3 and duplicate them and then make it -4 on the z-axis. And now we've pretty much created the foot. So what I'm going to do is now on this one, select it, press Control D, on the y-axis, make it up 1. And based on this picture, I'm going to approximate that we're going to need 3 up, so Control D. In fact, what I'm going to do is select this shape, then select the shape below it, press Control D, and move it up 2 on the y-axis. And then this one, I'm going to move up 3. So I'd say that pretty closely resembles the foot. So what you're going to do is select all of the shapes that we've just created and press Control D. As you'll notice, if I try to translate the x position to, for example, -5, it will make all of these objects x position -5, which will ruin the shape. Press Control Z to undo that, and now press Control G to group them. Now you can freely change the x, y, and z position without affecting the individual objects, rather you'll affect them as a group. So I'm going to say it's x-axis should be about -4. So click on your channel box editor and make it -4. In fact, -5 sounds good. So there you go, we've got the 2 feet done. Now we're going to start working on the body. Because the body is actually made up of larger cubes, we're going to create another cube this time and draw it on the grid. It doesn't matter about its width and height. Then in the channel box / layer editor, go under input, and in this one, change its width to 2, height to 2, and depth to 2. So these should be twice as large as the other cubes we've been working with. So now what I'm going to do is set all its translate positions to 0, so we have a nice neat slate to work with. And I'm going to put it in the middle of the 2 feet, which should be about -3.5 on the x-axis. Now I'm going to translate it on the y-axis. So to get this more accurate, click on this panel layout and now select one of the views by pressing space above it and now you can freely transform with more accuracy. So it seems that 4.5 on the y-axis, and we go back to our panel layout and the 3D view, and on the z-axis I'll make it -3. So now we're going to duplicate this shape and then make it -5. I'm going to make it -6 on the x-axis, or maybe -5.5. Yep. And now for this one, we're going to duplicate it and make it let's say 1.5. So -1.5. There you go. Now I'd say that this in width is probably about, let's say, 4 units. So what I'm going to do is select this shape, press Ctrl G to group them. Now press Ctrl D, and then on the z-axis make it 1. Oh, it should be 2 in fact. Now get this group again. Now with this group selected, press Ctrl D and make it -2. -2 on the z-axis. Now duplicate this group again, Ctrl D, make it -4. Duplicate it again and make it +4. There you go, that should be our main body for the character. In fact, let's go to our panel layout, click on this, and it will bring up all the groups that we've created. And we're going to select one of these groups. Okay, this one looks fine. And I'm going to press Ctrl D again and move it back to, I'm going to keep making these backwards, so -6 looks good. And now I'll make, let's try one more. Remember, we can always delete these, so it doesn't matter if you go too far. Now I'm going to move them up. Let's say I'm going to select all of these groups, except for this group because this is our foot group. Ctrl G these groups. Now Ctrl D and translate them on the y-axis up 2 every time. So select group number 10, translate up 2 on the y-axis. Continue doing this until you've got, let's say, 3 solid blocks. 4. Yep, that's looking good. Now we're only going to select a few certain ones out of this group. So I'm going to select up till here and individually select them by clicking until I've made a selection of a whole row. It should be about 4 by 3. Now I'll click Ctrl D to this and then Ctrl G to this, and on the translate on the Y, increase it by 1, actually increase it by 2. Oops, I keep making that mistake. So now with this group selected, I'm going to keep duplicating it up so that I have, let's say, so we'll press Ctrl D. Now on the y-axis, make it 4, Ctrl D, y-axis 6, whoops, didn't duplicate it that time, Ctrl D 4, Ctrl D 8, and I'm going to do it once more. Actually no, let's say that's good. Now I'm going to select this shape over here and now press Ctrl D and now move it over to, let's say, 2.5. Let's make it 3 on the z-axis. Now again, duplicate this and make it, let's say, 5 on the z-axis. Yep. I duplicate this one and move it down on the y-axis to, say, 2.5. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. Now we just got to make its roost thing. I don't know what they're named. Control D these two shapes and increase its Y position to 5.5. Oops, no, maybe 6.5. You're gonna just have to keep working at those numbers until they're even. So there you go. I'd say that chicken is almost good, but we're gonna have to first select these shapes over here. So select this, 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 and this. I will press Control D to these, and Control Z and Control G them, so they're in a group. Translate on the Z axis by 2. Now Control D this and put it over here. and so that should be -6. So there you go, that's looking good. So now I'd say that we finished the process of modeling, and what we're going to have to do now is texture the model. So what we're going to do in order to texture it is go into Window, Rendering Editors, and then Hypershade. So this lets us edit materials, material properties, and everything like that. So this is going to be our main utility while adding materials to this chicken. So in actual fact, looking over at this image, we're going to need a few materials. One we're going to need is red, which is reused here. We're going to need orange, which is reused here, white and black. So we're going to need 4 different materials. So under the Lambert in our Hypershade, we're going to click on that until we have 4 Lamberts, discluding Lambert 1. And so now under Lambert 2, double click, and it should open in the attribute editor over here. Now we'll call this white. Oops. And we'll make its color white, but maybe just a tad pink, just to add a bit of spice to that. So there you go. Now Lambert 3, we'll rename this to orange. And in order to get this into a correct color, we're going to go into Photoshop and press I. Now get this medium orange here, and then go under your color picker, and we're going to look at the RGB values here. Okay. So now that we've got those RGB values, once we select orange, we can make these RGB values correspond. So the color that we picked was 255 red, 128 green, and 103 on the blue. So there's our orange. Now our Lambert 4 is the red. And again, we're going to go into Photoshop, select our color picker and choose the medium color, and look at this one's RGB values, and we'll remember that. Now in its color properties, we're going to set its RGB to 255 red, 93 green, and 147 blue. Looking a bit pink, so we can just mess with it a bit over here until we get something a bit more on the red side of things. So you don't have to use the exact colors, so don't worry. That looks good. Finally, we're going to need the black color, so we'll just go black, and under color we can just drag it all the way up to black. So now we've made all the materials that we require, we can start adding textures to these materials. So what I'm going to do is select these, which are going to be textured red, along with this little underside, and then right click and then say assign existing material red. Now it's not going to look right, but these will change depending on the way you import it into Unity. So you're going to select the beak along with all of these feet, so shift, and use shift to select multiple of the blocks. Okay, that's good. And now right click, assign existing material orange. Okay, yeah, and so we're going to select all of these, which is quite a lot. And now deselect any of the other cubes that we might have accidentally selected. This one and this one. Okay, that's looking good. And we're going to right click on this existing material, white. So now, how are we going to get that little black eye thing? So I'm going to select this shape and select color black. That's looking too big to me, so what I'm going to do is select this cube and then this cube and then press delete. Now what I'm going to do is get one of these smaller orange cubes, press Ctrl D, and bring them up so that they fit into this gap. Let's try fit it into the corner of this gap as best we can. It's not going to be perfect, so what we're going to do is go into our channel box and make these nice even values. So -1 on the X, 14 on the Y, and it looks like 0, nope, -0.5 on the Z. So now press Ctrl D, move him over on the Z axis to -1.5, select these two, press Ctrl D, and then on the Y axis make it say 14. Yep, So you already, select these 4, press Ctrl D, and now we're going to have to push them over to here and make it so that its X value is -6. So you're already seeing an issue, and that's that they're orange. So to fix that, we're going to select them all, choose existing material black, not black, I meant choose existing material white. Now we're going to choose, out of those small ones, 1, make that black, and choose 1 here, and make that black, boom. So that's our chicken's texturing actually done. It doesn't really look like this one right now, but that's just because of the way Maya shows it. So what we're going to do is, as you can see, this in our hierarchy, if you can call it that, it's really not looking neat at all. So to do this, we're going to select, for example, this thigh object and deselect anything that we didn't mean to select, like this block here, using Shift. So now we've selected those. Now select the other blocks on the opposite side. Now under Mesh, click Combine, and over here double click and call this Thigh. Now do the same, press Mesh, Combine, and we call this, let's call it Hair. I don't know what it's called, so you should probably use better terminology than me. What you're going to do is basically repeat this process with all the major blocks, and then the blocks that we have left over we can just delete. So this would be beak, call this mouth. We're going to select and pull it out using middle mouse, and this mesh will call chin. Now I'm going to select all of the legs, make sure that we haven't double selected anything. Yep. Now go into Mesh, Combine. Now double click and call this leg. Okay. So now all we have left is the body. So what I'm going to do is Shift select all the ones that aren't being covered by another mesh. So I'm going to select them all like this. So I might fast forward it because it's a bit tedious, but yeah. So now that we've selected absolutely everything in our scene, including our leg, body, head, chin, mouth, we're going to go up to Edit, Delete by Type, History. And now we're left with a few objects here and there. So hopefully we should just be able to delete these. Yeah, because what those were, they were the objects inside of this. So now our guy's actually hollow, but that's fine because the player doesn't see that. So now everything's nicely organized into, what's that, 6 different meshes? Yeah. So now we can go on to Edit, we can go on to File, and Save Scene As. So this will be a Maya file. Now in this Maya file, you can save it wherever you want. And I'm going to name it chicken.maya. I already have one, but I'll replace it. Yep. Continue. And now I'll click File, Export All. Now make sure this is set to an FBX export. Now again, call this chicken. I'll replace my current one. Okay, export all. Yep. Now we can close out Maya because we're done with it, and we can even close out Photoshop. No. So now I'm going to open up Unity 5 and open up the Crossy Roads that we just made in the last lesson. Now if we go into our project window, scenes, we'll have our prototype scene. So we're going to open that one up, and what I'm going to do is go down here, right click, and create a new folder, and this one will be called Prefabs. Okay, and so we're going to double click on that and drag in our level prefab. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go File, New Scene, because we don't want to be using our prototype scene, do we? Now you can go under Main Camera and Directional Light and just hit Delete. Now under our prefabs, we can drag in Level, and that will bring in our main camera and directional light, but it should save all the settings that we had before. So we're going to right click to create a folder, and this one will be called models. Open up this folder and right click import new asset, and now you're going to navigate to where you saved the FBX file. Always remember to do the FBX file. So chicken.fbx, and here you go, you can already see it. So it will automatically make a materials folder next to the chicken. So under the materials folder, all the properties, select all the materials, and under shader we'll go legacy shaders and diffuse. So now what we're going to do is go into our model and drag it into our scene. As you can see, it's way too small, so under chicken, scale factor, let's try 10. Hit apply, and that is looking a perfect size already. In this case, the directional light is going to affect the way that the scene looks. So what we're going to do is rotate this directional light until we get something similar to the original. So we're going to rotate it to 0, 0, 0, and under color, make sure it's white because we don't want it to affect the textures. And we're going to go under our chicken and rotate this. For example, we're going to go under our chicken and rotate it -90 on the y-axis. This is going to give us a point of reference to rotate our directional light. So that is looking magnificent. And as you can see, if we go under our main camera and increase the size, you can see that that just looks exactly like the chicken in the photo, plus shadows. So that's another advantage of Unity. So what we can do now to apply the scripts that we made is go game object, create empty, and call this parent object. Now drag the chicken under this. Now on the chicken, we're going to have to go to the animation window and recreate the jump animation that we made. So I'm going to go to animation, jump, replace it, and for this animation I'm going to go to the 5-second point, make its y-axis 1 and its scale 1.1, so it's a little bit taller. Now go to the 10-second mark and reset these to the default 1. So now as you can see, our chicken looks sort of like he's jumping. We'll even change in scale to add a bit of realism. So you're going to uncheck the record button, click create new clip, navigate to the animations folder, double click on idle, yes, replace. Now go to the 45-second mark and make its y-axis 0.9, 0.9, and now go all the way to the 130 mark and go 1.0. So now if we press play, it should look as though it's breathing. I think it's a bit too intense, so I'm going to change its midpoint to 0.95. Give that a play, and that looks good. So uncheck the record button, and you're going to have to go into your window. You're going to have to go into your animator window, and you should now have to recreate what we did in the last tutorial. So make transition from jump to idle, transition from idle to jump, create a parameter that's a bool. You have to name it jump, the same as you did last time. So we want it so that it goes from idle to jump under the condition that jump is true. So there it is, Unity's already figured it out. And now under jump to idle, we don't need a, idle to jump, we don't need a has exit time. And from jump to idle, we don't need a condition, we're just going to have to shorten this one up. So, shorten, and now, what we should be able to do is go to our chicken object, add a component of type script, this will be the animation controller, drag in parent object, and under parent object create a script known as bounce. So let's give this a try, hopefully it will work. So now as you can see, our model has been imported. We will see there's one issue, and that's rotation. It needs to rotate depending on what direction it's pointing in. So We'll get working on that in the next tutorial, but for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe.